Massive market pullback just took place inside our VIP 2 weeks prior to this downside. We had built a very complex model, combining FOMC bond data with historical rate cuts, really breaking down the fundamentals of what rate cuts and their effect on the market are all about. And from this model, we came up with these projections here that I'll show you. And right now, not only are they coming true, but as you'll see, we actually targeted, before the price even got up to this resistance line and this support line in gold, we targeted those exact price points. What's going on, chat? I can see we've got some super bears in the crowd. We've got some people talking about the recent news, and we're going to break all of this down right now. Jumping into VIP, we can see inside of our Kaspa leverage trade section, the ones that we have posted, and we'll get into our most recent posts in a moment. We can see we're always having these bearish undertones with Kaspa waiting for, and this one was done even further backwards, bouncing off of this resistance line, finding support here, which is exactly what Kaspa did. Those are the exact same two trend lines right there that we had mapped out in VIP. This is known as the origin trend line system, and we're using it in an adaptive wick-off charting method. We'll go a bit deeper on that. First off, the fundamentals of what are breaking down. So previously, inside our macroeconomics, we had a bunch of data bubbling up from previous charts, as well as we're actually doing accounting for the bond sales, because this is what all of our uncanny price correlations come from.
Exciting now.
This is Wall Street Bet's biggest insight. For anybody who's unfamiliar, that's the clique, that's the community that was getting behind GameStop 90 days, 120 days before it even started rallying. And as we've shown before, I've still got my receipts from GameStop, getting in way back then. This is also known as Satoshi's secret. One of the reasons why we've got to have a VIP is because otherwise we'd be spending every video just backtracing all the techniques, all the tactics, all the fundamental understanding into all these callouts. So right now we're kind of just going to build on top of everything. So everyone who's been paying attention for the past few live streams or as part of the VIP will soak this in way more. And for everybody on the sidelines who's like, dude, I'm already beating the market up, it's no problem. Awesome. That's why boxers go and get a boxing coach, because often it's just twisting your knuckle another centimeter. It's often just your foot positioning can be slightly adjusted, and having an outside perspective completely changes your game. And you went from like a knockout artist to a Mike Tyson. That's what I finally bit the bullet back in the day, joined up, and luckily I was part of Wall Street Bets when these guys know their stuff. Chatting with Roaring Kitty, getting into all that Satoshi secret, the bond market accounting, and we're going to get into just the surface layer of that right now. So historically, and this is what rate cuts represent fundamentally, diamond hands are important. And I saw up at the top, somebody was saying, should we be diversifying into Bitcoin to protect our Kaspa? Don't even worry about it, guys. Marathon Digital, they're in on Kaspa already with Jane Street. And once they've made the bet,
read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought.
it's already game over. It's already gonna rocket. You can't have BlackRock involved with your crypto. They're only involved with Bitcoin and Kaspa. It's already game over. These guys have already done a more detailed vetting than we could ever hope to do. They have like the top MIT guys on it. So back to the history and what fundamentally is happening. And then we're going to actually correlate this with recent price action. You guys want to go InfoWars? We're going to go full InfoWars in this video. Taking Satoshi's secret, Roaring Kitty special move and taking it a step deeper, because what we're tracking here is central banks and how they work side by side with the investment banking class. And once we have that insight, like they do inside the Wall Street bets community, when you really learn their secrets, you crush the market. And we've been wrecking the market, and this theory that we put together, this hypothesis of a market sell-off with the exact trend lines that actually came into play. This is all Wall Street Bets 101 at the core. And we can see after the rate cuts happened in 2019, and this is so key, the rate cuts happened, there's a rally, lasted 7 to 9 days. This rally lasted almost 12, and then there was a monster sell-off. Rally, monster sell-off. So this could be the next meeting with Powell cutting rates even more. This is a time-released bullish factor. What's up, Brazil? It's all about time release. As this bond yield gets turned into liquidity, it goes into risk on markets. For those of you guys who are familiar with this chart's explanation, kudos to you. For everybody else who just saw this for the first time, you know nothing, Jon Snow. This is the key to unlocking monster profit in crypto. Okay. So we had hypothesized, looking at the total 3 straight up, based on last year and Bitcoin as well. Let's get to the 1 day on Bitcoin. We're still in fundamentals here. We haven't even added the second layer, which is technical analysis yet. Looking at Bitcoin's prior rate cuts, they were right here. And guess what happened next? Right when the coast was clear, right when we started ramping upwards, guess what? Lockdowns, the economy, and this was depending on what level of conspiracy theorists you get to, they war gamed this out, and that's a fact. We've all seen those clips. A lot of censorship on social media. The powers that be, they war gamed the lockdowns out, getting everything in place. Today's catalyst, today's lockdown, viral lockdown, is something totally different. Does anybody in the comments know what it is? You guessed it. You've seen it on financial news. It's the longshoremen. They've got every coast from the East Coast. We're talking from Maine to Texas, California to Washington, closed. They walked off. The entire economy is about to get wrecked, son. They've estimated that it's costing $5 billion a day in a type of compounding snowball effect. Because guess what starts to happen right now? This is why it's lockdowns 2, and we haven't even got to the conspiracy theory yet. This is lockdowns 2.0. Because in a couple weeks, your uncle owns a used car or a new car dealership. They're not getting any more cars imported. Your aunt owns a clothing store inside the mall. You yourself are a farmer and you're trying to export your harvest. It's harvest seasoned and it's Christmas shopping, holiday shopping, excuse me. So therefore, this is like the clutch time to shut the ports down, because all that farmers' food are going to go rotten. All the stores are going to run out of goods. And what do the longshoremen want? What are their demands besides more money? They want basically artificial intelligence inside the docks. Can you believe that?
My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer.
They're saying no automations in the docks. And they're trying to connect that to taxes when realistically taxes are just a system to control the people. The government's printing the money. They don't need to take it off of you. They're just doing it to keep you in place. This is part of Satoshi's secret on a deeper level and why Bitcoin is our #1 tool to fight the central banking system as their power and corruption increases, and the institutional investors. This starts to become a conspiracy. Who remembers March 27th, the tugboat crash on the East Coast? That actually caused markets to take a downturn. Looking at the total 3 chart, that's March 27 right there, ladies and gentlemen, right at the peak. And now they're like, whoa, it seemed like an awful lot of downside was in the markets just based on one port getting closed. But in reality, using hindsight, they're starting to war game out what will happen when they close every port in the United States. And this is, of course, the deep end of tinfoil hats, which is showcasing, oh, you think that the longshoremen are going to be done this next week? Probably not, based on the fact that this tugboat collapse, which was extremely suspect. If you guys followed that news story, they were like, this was weird because it started like accelerating right as it hit the bridge. It was totally goofy. There wasn't a really solid explanation. People thought that maybe it had been hijacked or something was ajar at the Circle K with that, for sure. Therefore, just laying into the fact that this is our new lockdown. This guy's from Baltimore, so he remembers that whole tugboat thing. He's probably got insider info. You should maybe try to see what kind of intel you can get on how serious this entire longshore shutdown is going to be. Now, there's other things that we're doing inside VIP to correlate with how strong and when this sell-off is really going to start kicking down. Right after we made the post inside VIP, you guys remember it said Black Swan event. And I was thinking, these guys, the longshoremen, are going on strike tomorrow. This hasn't even really fully kicked off yet. I'm thinking, let's go ahead and open. I did a 20x Bitcoin leverage trade with $3,000. It's almost doubled up right now. If you guys want to do a no VPN leverage trading, there's some inside the description sign on bonus. You just have to break even with money active for 30 days and you'll be in the profit. And then, of course, there's VIP, where we're going to be getting ready to shorting right now would be a bit of a chase, but we're going to be longing these on the way out and seeing how we built the model that accurately predicted this. And the reason why, I've got to be completely upfront because we have nothing to hide inside our VIP. We did start nibbling on Kaspa here, and I'm going to read that post to you right here. Part of the reason is now we're getting into some of the TA with the wick-off method, exiting this, and we'll get into this later in the stream. We're trying to keep the streams under an hour now. But right here, as we started breaking up off this Fibonacci pitch level and approaching what's termed the gravitational field, this is all part of wick off just applied to crypto. We started nibbling on Kaspa here, and then we got rejected again. And that post read something like this. The reason tomorrow's buy alert is cautionary is due to macroeconomic factors. The price of oil is falling and central banks are stimulating the economy. Classic signals for a market downside. Additionally, we're at the tail end of our projected FOMC rally. Taking all of this into account, dry powder is valuable commodity right now. It's wise to hold off for as long as possible. We put that in to deploy some of the HODL capital. Of course, everybody else in social media, and this is why everyone has a responsibility to hit subscribe and thumbs up on this video. Everyone else on social media, God bless their souls, was going long on Kaspa. We, as you can clearly see there, we're still fairly confident that this pullback was going to go down, although in the AI sectors like Spectral, we also started building positions here. I started buying in at 950, and we actually have a new angled Fibonacci. We're going to get into details inside VIP on how bad this swing low can get so we can buy. I'm seeing your, let me get the chat fixed here. There we go. So we can expect red for a while right now. Dips will get lower. Okay. There's multiple factors, including Powell's going to step up on Friday, and he's going to go over the jobs data. Stronger jobs economy means that the Fed's going to back off from cutting rates. That's bearish, hawkish. If the jobs data comes out, and for example, they start calculating in all the layoffs that are going to happen as these ports are shut down, that can be more bullish. So stay on our toes to see both what Powell says and the market reactions. In my opinion, let's zoom in on Bitcoin's chart. We could get a rally into more sell-off based on jobs data, because at the end of the day, putting all this tinfoil hat information together, these longshoremen are going to be holding out intentionally for a while. And so what that means, this is actually good for us long term. Why? Because as they crush the economy, just like in COVID, this was when lockdowns happened and Powell decided he was going to have to step in and save the day. February 20th, 2020. Just quickly touch base. I can't do the whole Satoshi secret every video. It's not fair for everybody. This is February 20th, 2021. GameStop was peaking 20 days before this. The total 3 experienced its run up. That's Tau. The total 3 experienced its run up, and then the distribution phase follow a year after. So the more that the Fed has to stimulate the economy, creating jobs by controlling the investment banker class, getting them to put their money on the street, this is good. So ultimately, the longshoremen are acting in our long-term favor, because the Fed's going to have to step up and stimulate the economy that they're gearing up to destroy. The car dealerships are going to lay people off. The farmers are going to lay people off. The economy is going to need stimulation. And instead of controlling inflation and keeping it all inside the Fed's bond program, the DeFi bubble, they put it out on the street. And this might have been, as we get into more of the accounting. So what we were trying to do inside VIP was pull up this type of data. This is actually your FOMC bond auctions. They're actually going down. And historically, just recently, we used this to call out on August 26th, the market would retrace, because all of these bond auctions were dated August 26th. Now, looking forward, and part of our new model that we just created for the rally, post-sell-off rally, was these bond auctions would stop the rally and it would turn to the downside. We may not have accounted for how many there are, because today we're still seeing almost 200 billion at least, and then there's more on the 3rd. More auctions coming. More billions of dollars that's being diverted from risk-on assets. This is where the Jane and Jump Street, the BlackRocks stick their cash, is in these high-yield bonds. And then the FOMC, the central banks, controls that money. They work hand in hand, like Batman and Robin, putting it back on the street to stimulate the economy. It's a cat and mouse game with quantitative easing, etc. So the jobs data that comes out on Friday is crucial for short-term price action, but absolutely. And based on our historic model that we built, the historic stuff is all showing massive downside. And it's not just 2019. Remember the 2008 housing crash? They made all those movies about it. It's the same thing. There's a new destructive catalyst happening, whether it's lockdowns, whether it's the longshoremen, whether it's the housing markets, destructive market turmoil, and the Fed and the investment bankers team up and fix things. So yes, more downside in certain asset sectors. Taking a look at Tau really hasn't been that faded. It lost some of its upside. It was, even after that, it was like up to 620. different asset classes will be affected differently. Bitcoin definitely taking more heat. It's more connected with the stock market. Yes, Solomon, it is the perfect storm. And as we put all the pieces together, it may even be a man-made storm. That was just such a suspect piece of news with the March 27th tugboat. So now that we've covered the fundamentals for what we put together on why we get the pullback specifically on Kaspa, let's get into the technical analysis because we have a very special charting system. Cryptos have halving and emission schedules, which means they create repeating trend lines. The stock market doesn't have this. The stocks never create repeating trend lines, so there's no published literature in this phenomenon. And we can see this as clear as day on the Kaspa chart, moving this Fibonacci pitch out of the way. As far back as the April breakout, we get this golden trend line that's constantly repeating to the downside. You can actually place Fibonacci pitches on it, and this is the same thing on Tau. We're zoomed in right now, but watch what happens when we zoom out. So we put this Fibonacci pitch up on Tau right here on the 20th of September. And look at it, it's caught here, found resistance here, and bounced off here. Look what happens when we zoom out. That's all those contact points here, and all this is a cloned repetition of this prior x-axis repeating trend line, because all those golden lines on Kaspa, you can also space these out with Fibonacci pitches, and all these indentations right here, they'll all line up just like it did on Tau, like a glove. And so right now it seems like we're right here on Tau, bottom of the gray zone. We're actually forming the same almost like double top fake out, and it looks like in our projections it will go up to the blue zone until finding its downward price channel. So this repeating trend line system, you can put these repeating trend lines on every cryptocurrency and it gives you massive insight. The next phase, and this is applying the wick-off charting method, is recognizing when they're going to break out. And to do this, we use the same exact trend line, but this time we measure the farthest distance the candles got away. This concept is known as the gravitational field. Again, Wyckoff does a very similar method of this. During the prior x-axis downtrend, we got everybody in at 11.5 and under on cold storage, and then we started opening up leverage trade longs with 10x and 7x right here, right when we are hopping over the top of it. As you can see, the price went up, really tested, almost fake out, breaking this gravitational field setup, and then bounced off the top of its prior downward price trend, and then got the breakout. And those were so low, they even survived the Bank of Japan carry trade, all of them. So this was the prior one right here. And then you can go back to the handle of the cup. It's the same story. Once you get out of the gravitational field, your breakouts go. Actually, back here, we had 1 million Kaspa leverage trade. And we got wicked out because we did a stop loss, which was dumb. That would have been nice to hold through the God candle. 1 million Kaspa long. So what's really funky and why we realized this downward price channel was going to be so aggressive inside VIP, and we've covered this in a post, I believe, is because of the depth, the gauge of this gravitational field. The wider it is away from this x-axis downtrend, the harder it's going to be to break out. That's why even remember when the Peach Fuzz Mafia guys were like, dude, we just got the best deal of all time at 15, and it starts rocketing up. People are like, should we buy in VIP? I got 100 emails about this breakout. Dude, are we missing out? And I was like, no, the gravitational field is too wide. We've got all this fundamental information. This pullback is a go. And look, it pulled directly back to the top bounce off, just like here. Let me get my face out of the way. Just like here. See that? So right now we're bouncing off the top side of that golden x-axis, and this is a wide breadth of gravitational field, so it's going to be difficult to break out. Now, another concept that we're using is we've placed this Fibonacci measurement tool inside the downward price channel because it's so big to give us more of an insight. Because as we can see, the golden pocket stacking up here, 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 the golden pocket is definitely involved, and this Fibonacci tool is measuring price with a level of accuracy. Another concept that we're working with inside VIP is instead of this being the base x-axis as we're bouncing off of it, this is more where we're at. This golden pocket is now live, and this is just a wick underneath it. So we're going to start to look for a bounce off the top side of the golden pocket next, and then really getting us closer to exiting this gravitational field. And once the candle clears this, then we'll open Kaspa long leverage trades. It's exactly what we did during the last downward price channel. It's a great way to chart a breakout. And we actually also projected that there would be an inverse head and shoulder. What we're getting right now doesn't look like it's a classic pattern of much. Nothing's changed for Kaspa because this has happened. I'm going to show you another example of this happening historically in the past, and then afterwards Kaspa was the most dominant crypto in all the market. Let me show you this. Let's zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. This will really make the case that we're talking about here. So yeah, right here, February 20th, 2024, right to the end of it. So March, Kaspa starts its downside, we'll say on March 1st, just make it easy. Has a nice breakout, and here it was like a massive leader. And then remember, all throughout here and here, everything else going over to the total 3 was a total dumpster fire train wreck. It was a bloodbath. ICP was back where it was at in May of 2023. A lot of the legacy projects were. DeFi was not doing good. So looking at the total 3, this is, this right here is the end of February. So Kaspa loses its mustard right here. See that? This is where Kaspa downturns. The total 3 rockets, and then has been part of this monster sell-off ever since. So Kaspa's just operating on its own clock. To show you a more fundamental charting example, these are all the rocket ship FOMC dates on Kaspa. Now, recently we didn't get liftoff from this FOMC, and the reason being smart contracts aren't online yet, and these guys only bet on a sure thing. They don't throw darts at a board. They want to see proof.
I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things.
So what this chart is showing us, and this has a ton of insight in it, this FOMC, massive upside. Look at what was happening on the total 3 back then. It was a bloodbath. All of the biggest content creators, from Crypto Banter to Altcoin Daily, they decided that while the FOMC was raising rates, it would be a great time to go long. This was altcoin season. That was not correct. We actually shorted here a large position, and as Jane Street and these huge market makers were selling tons of their legacy projects right here, it was a bloodbath. I mean, it was a beatdown. Look at what was happening on Kaspa. And using hindsight, we know that Marathon Digital, they started mining Kaspa like here. So we know that they're researching it and probably loading their bags right here. And with Marathon Digital, this includes BlackRock, Jane Street, State Street. These are the guys who facilitate liquidity. One of the biggest misconceptions we hear in Kaspa social media is Coinbase and Binance will buy it. The market makers buy it. Those listings, those exchanges just deal the business. So the FOMC guys that are connecting Kaspa to the bond market have already loaded their bags. And there's a delayed catalyst with smart contracts that will help Kaspa pick up. So this has happened before. I wouldn't get afraid of it. Now, this is a personalized question as well, Tyler, because what you want to do ultimately is pack your bags for the run-up phase. This is something that we also detail inside of Macroeconomics. We have the 3 phases of the crypto bull run. This is very important to understand, and how the bond markets correlate with this. Let's refresh this page. So this is the total 3. That February date, that's exactly when Powell, and this is going to be coming up because of the longshoremen. After these guys destroy the economy, after there's massive bloodbaths in the street, and this may not happen as much for artificial intelligence, because one of the demands that the longshoremen have is they're trying to say no AI on the docks. They don't want any automation, which is like a bank teller saying, well, we don't want any ATMs in the bank. Good luck with that. So this is actually helping the AI narrative, which adds just another grain of salt onto the scale for the fact that this is a tinfoil hat, pre-planned ordeal that's going to instigate the Fed into cutting rates down to 0, like they did for lockdowns, which is what we want. We want the shoremen to destroy the economy. We want the Fed to come in and say, okay, all the money's coming out of the bond DeFi market the government has. Batman and Robin go save the day. They put all this cash on the street, and on the chart, this looks like 0 right here. You can see the dates exactly. February 20th to, we'll use this swing local high, June 17th. Looking at the Bitcoin charts, just for everybody who hasn't been watching this show or in VIP, February 20th, 2021. Those are the 1-year bonds. Okay, so as that liquidity hits the street, now it's stimulating the economy. Batman and Robin are here to save the day. On the total 3 chart, this starts to run up, but then altcoins need more development. And we'll get into that. See, the last market cycle, they had a bunch of weird projects. This is a helium miner. You guys may or may not have seen this. This is a Match X miner. It looks like a giant walkie-talkie, supposed to hook up to like your refrigerator, your smart refrigerator, but all it really does is facilitate Ponzi-nomics, straight up. And then you have your blatant Ponzi-nomics. This is a project called Blocks. This is a miner. You actually get an NFT. This is like a souvenir of participation. It's like a glowing multicolored light bulb. Just blatant Ponzi-nomics, but the White House has came in and regulated that, forcing artificial intelligence to be the go-to project. Therefore, that's why all of our 24-point reports, so we have these 8 or 9 page reports on 3 projects that we hunted out and vetted. After the FOMC cut rates, and they ultimately guaranteed that there'll be a distribution round because they're already going to hold rates down into 2027 at least 3%. Now it's looking like we're going to get that 0. We're going to get that uber duper fantastic, oh my God, all the money in the world's in liquid assets. Therefore, crypto's going to go Bazooka Joe style. This is going down right now, gratefully. That's what happened in the distribution phase, but this time it's going to be artificial intelligence, which is why we're getting some controlled downside on our favorite picks like SPEC. So this is where we were on our, this is my biggest side bag right here. So they have the FOMC meeting, and then it goes up from like 5 and change to like almost 10. After the BOJ carry trade, we are getting everybody in on this at 520. One of our other picks, DEAI, this was at 16, ripped up to like 45. This is, they're going to build on AI. So in these goofy layer 2 projects, the whole market's going to change, guys. After the run up, crypto then becomes popular after they see how much money we're all making. And then the new layer projects get put on top, and it's going to be AI all day. And Kaspa has its own niche of real world use cases, which are involving BlackRock, carbon credits, which we've gone over in multiple other videos, and of course, stable coins, because Kaspa does the best stable coins. Right now, Jane Street and all these market makers, how would you like to have hundreds of billions of dollars on Solana in stable coins or Ethereum? Ethereum's just a bad business model. It's slow and expensive. Solana, you're like, well, Solana's a doorway for Kaspa because of the coding languages. And if you guys are newer or you're advanced, you want to get your hands on these reports. We've got over 7. Some of them are not even listed yet. So we've been coming up with the most mind-boggling, accurate market predictions from being in the Wall Street Bets clique and that community way back in GameStop, from joining Hello Roaring Kitties group. And now we facilitated into crypto, including how to vet them. And then on top of it, we correlate them to the bond market because we're looking for where this money's going to go. We want this to go into our projects. So anything that just ripped to the upside, that's a strong signal. And Kaspa has done this multiple times before. Just because we missed out on this one, look at how much it had done previously. This is when we did the 10x long on Kaspa. FOMC meeting happens. We're like, right on the main channel. You can go back to November 2nd. We're like 10x long this. This is back when we were recording off our cell phone. So make sure you guys subscribe and help get this top of the line money-making information out to everybody. It's very hard to compete with people that are trained in backlinks, the new social media creators, the Peach Fuzz Mafia. And take a look inside the VIP. You get all those reports. You basically saved yourself hundreds of hours of reading VIP just to find the #1 GameFi pick. That was a 60-hour task hunting it down. And I'm talking about real man hours. I timed it. Scrolling through the unlisted GameFi projects, because GameFi is something that will load our bag up later. To build onto your question of what we should buy, more importantly, when we should buy it. So what you want to build first in any portfolio is your connection to the run-up phase. This is when the bonds initially get unlocked. This is your layer ones, things along that nature. During the distribution phase, this is your more hands-on projects like your AIs, your spectrals, and your TAUs. And then finally, you buy GameFi, meme coins. Remember when everybody was buying GameFi like way back here? That doesn't ultimately make a lot of sense because GameFi gets its injection from money much later than layer one. So all that GameFi cash should have just been put into Kaspa. And remember, guys, it was just 45, 90 days ago. Kaspa was like crushing everything. Everything had lost its games except Kaspa. And so right now, this is just the wax and wane of that. Everything's coming out in the balance. Nothing has changed for Kaspa. Yeah, so a lot of this has to do with the up and coming elections and honestly, the sitting administration with what's about to happen with the longshoremen. Let me change this battery in the camera. This is basically a done deal for them. You don't want to be the sitting administration while the entire market crashes. Because both sides have their separate lobbyists that are looking to get their hands on this bubble. And it just so happens both sides have Silicon Valley people in place. One of them is more connected to the ex-Google executives that are working on AI war machine projects. So if a certain side wins, the war efforts can get a lot of this money and less of it will come to us. So yeah. Yeah, Dan, it might be hard for you to understand because we're not fully backing everything up. This is why having a VIP is so important. We can't just pick up from the beginning every video and explain Satoshi's secret with the bond market unlocking. Look at this date, June 15th, 2022 and February 20th, 2020. That's the run up. And then that's the sell-off. A clean example of how the central banks are in complete control of the market. And of course, this rabbit hole goes way deeper into tracking their actual bond auctions, getting into that, recognizing the use cases for the projects. And then, of course, there's a technical analysis, which is why VIP is really necessary to have, because everybody's got to be up to date as the call outs roll out. Unlike other people that are just issuing copy trading, we backlink everything to macroeconomics, technical analysis, videos and post, so everybody can get up to speed faster. Yep. Yeah, and Bitcoin's still seeing downside. I opened up a short 20x leverage last night after we made the post about the longshoremen recognizing that this was going to absolutely wick. And on Friday, the FOMC will come out and talk about jobs. And we're going to have how to assess that data already packaged. So our traders will be able to digest what Powell says and how the market will take it faster, because that could be a nice either double rug or a rally and then into more sell-off. And it's all coming down to this. There is a link to the VIP in the description below. I'll show you guys what you get, because for 47 bucks, this is just mispriced because you're getting way too much value. This is amazing to help people grow. And for advanced traders, even better, because you're hiring someone else on your team. You're like, yeah, Jesse, I got better stuff to do or better research to do. You go ahead and read every single white paper for new listing AIs. You go ahead and read every single new listing GameFi. Find the best ones for me and make a bunch of these 24-point reports. And out of those reports, after this FOMC meeting, Spectral, it's like out of all 10,000 projects in the market, it's in the top 100 gainers. DEAI, another report on it, my other side bag, went from 15 to 45. So these are the most dominant, strongest picks. And we've only got a few handfuls of AI picks that are listed right now. The majority of our picks, 2 of them actually, aren't even on the exchanges yet. And they are the hit GameFi picks that are going to absolutely rocket to the upside. And they took me a long time to find, but are, no questions asked, the best picks for this year. Once you see them, it's not just the quality of the game, it's their business connections. So you get all the Kaspa leverage trades, and these go back as far as the prior breakout. So we've got where we're plotting this. We're thinking about how the golden pocket's going to play into support from way back up here. And we had hypothesized this way before. We've got the AI and altcoin trading plans. We've got the macroeconomics, which is getting into Satoshi's secret, the 3 phases of the bull run. We do one-on-one portfolio consultation to ensure that what everybody's buying now is the right time to buy it. Like, we don't want to start buying GameFi quite yet. We want to buy GameFi down the road, or ZK roll up down the road. Right now, we want to focus on AI and DeFi. New listings. We got an Alex Becker pick NIA 24 hours before he released it using this new listing technique. When the market flips supersonic bullish, there'll be a lot of quick double up flips in new listings. And of course, we're also searching the new listings in general to find gems. We've got different watch lists of different market caps, all the trading plans, and these are the training videos on how to use that origin trendline system. Doesn't exist on stocks, only in crypto, and we just explained it clearly on Tau. These two Fibonacci pitches exactly the same. Look at this. When you zoom in, fits like a glove. We had this posted since here, catches every support, every resistance, and it's the exact same one from here. And so using this, we can see we're right here, and this can easily jump up to the blue level until finding its downward price channel. And then we combine those repeating trend lines to your classic patterns. And we also have another category called the classic pattern directory. This is just screenshots of, you can get a classic pattern book at Barnes & Noble, but it will be charts that are from 10 years ago. These are all from right now on charts you are watching. Looking at the technical analysis, this is example the Bank of Japan carry trade post. We had noticed Kaspa was always forming these head and shoulder patterns. Let's look at the MXC chart. Every time on these tops, it was making a very clear head and shoulder from all the way back here. And this is just psychology, classic patterns. It's not geometry or mathematics. It's showing that the buyers are rallying up. They're in control. They make another high. And then we get this double top, which is showing they're losing control. That's the head. And then we get the right shoulder. And once this right shoulder had played out here in March, we're all pretty sure that's a head and shoulders. Here comes the pain. And the pain followed. And you can see this in even pennants, which is a smaller classic pattern lasting less than 21 days here and then here. So we recognized that, and we advised everybody who was in our leverage trades from the bottom of the prior breakout, right around here, set the stop loss, we're in trouble. And then like 24 hours later, found out that it was the Bank of Japan causing bond issues, just like in the United States FOMC that was about to tank the market. That was a super advanced type of action. And then we've got all our fundamental research, how to do these 24-point checklists on your own. So everybody's got a couple of gems that they're looking at. Maybe it's DeFi, maybe it's AI, how to vet them, including there's an 84 questions that you can cut, copy, paste, and just enter into ChatGPT. Forget about Google. Google is done for research. Don't use Google. Instead, use Super ChatGPT or Agent GPT. And we've got loads of tools that you can use right off the bat. For anybody who doesn't know about Crypto Rank, immediately forget about Coinbase. This is what you want to use, CryptoRank.com. As you click on any project, you get so much more information. You get to see who the VCs are, who the backers. You get to see their tokenomics right here at your fingertips, making it far more easy to do research. You can even scroll down and find the teams on some posting. Everything. Much better tool, and it's a much better tool for search as well, as you can hunt based on market cap, what sector it is. And we got all the tools, wallet tracking, everything else. Moonwell's jumping into some DeFi plays. Moonwell gives exposure to the base chain as well as the DeFi sector. The reason why the DeFi sector is getting so hot right now is because the FOMC has now, they've all but guaranteed a distribution phase with these figures right here. They're holding the rates down into 2026 and 2027. And in combination with the destroyed economy from the longshoremen, this will be beautiful because the Fed will have to step in like they did for lockdowns and really stimulate the economy, forcing this cash onto the street, which will make the bull run supersonic at all times. So yeah, we're going to be inside VIP, gauging how this is going to affect Kaspa. When the add-ons on Kaspa, how to chart Kaspa moving forward. We're going to go over specifically how it's going to affect AI, Tau, Spectral, DEAI, as well as DeFi picks like Moonwell. Moonwell coming down right now. It's on its 30-cent support line, which it is established right here. So be mindful, everybody, VIP and not, that these longshoremen, they're planning on sticking it to the market. So our hypotheses of more sell-offs and better price deals apply, at least until the next FOMC meeting. Looking at the total three, here's a trick that we can combine charting with fundamentals. Huge fan of technical analysis. It's 1,000 times better when you combine it with fundamentals. Every time a falling wedge reaches its apex, it's like a magnifying glass to the price. Thus, this current falling wedge, an exact clone to the prior one. Let's get to the one-day chart. This massive falling wedge, which we use to short AVAX and then go long on Kaspa, right as it reached its apex, that was when the low was in. This one, cloning these exact same two lines, forms an apex basically on November 1st, right around then. Therefore, for a majority of asset havens, it's a safe assumption the market as a whole, the total three chart, will be at a low on that date. And there are FOMC meetings encroaching, as well as we've got the election on November 15th. So just like when Powell gets in front of the podium, there's a lot of excitement. Around the election, there's going to be a lot of, whoa, is it up? Is it down? Is it side to side? And for the diligent trader waiting for that moment, we might get additional discounts. We might get a quick swing low that we can swoop in. All thanks to the longshoreman. $40,000 stare master, a savings account, right? It's already a said deal. The cards have been dealt. The fiat system will self-destruct. Our videos explaining Satoshi's secret and or the more recent one explaining Roaring Kitty's secret, which is Satoshi's secret applied to the stock market, explain in detail how Alan Greenspan, former head of the FOMC, designed Bitcoin to absorb this. As the halving takes place, every 4 years that restricts the supply and the demand goes up as the Fed is moving in tandem with the Bitcoin halving by design. Just look at the last time they cut rates. It was right around the last halving. 4 years goes by, now they start cutting rates again. And using our technical analysis method on Bitcoin, I almost forgot this. The repeating trendline system, we had originally been using this 65.5 level as resistance. This y-axis resistance line is actually what stopped Bitcoin out. And we're meeting an apex of symmetrical triangle here. So this downside on Bitcoin can continue to fall until here. 54,000. In the worst case scenario that this becomes a bloodbath.
Exciting now.
This can go down and find its sort of gravitational field extension from down here. We could get some discount Bitcoin up and coming. Absolutely. Like we were saying inside of this Kaspa post, dry powder is a valuable commodity in the total market conditions. This is cautionary macroeconomic factors. This is why you guys we've all got to subscribe, thumbs up this video, because we're the only channel in the Kaspa community that put these puzzle pieces together correctly. Everybody else has misinformation because they're not part of Wall Street Bets. They don't understand Roaring Kitty and Satoshi's secret. They're not connecting it all to the FOMC and the bonds. And in order to take your trading to the next level, jump into VIP. It's just like you're a boxer, you're winning fights, you're going for the title. Have another coach look at your stance. A lot of times you're doing everything right. It's just a slight variation. An adjustment will make the world of difference. As well as you're building your team. You've hired me as a staff to scroll through, read up on a bunch of projects, and give you that information streamlined, which saves you countless man hours. Most undervalued VIP and highest score level across the board. That's how it is. Had we stuck to our guns instead of nibbling on Kaspa and jumping in on some Spectral, we would have gotten the Big Brain Award of the year. But that's another story. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. We will catch you on the next one.